We are joined by Tom Hythen, Sandy Castle, who loves his jump racing. Wasn't here on Saturday, but you get your chance tonight.
I do.
Tell us a bit about yourself very briefly and who you're associated with in terms of the running racing.
Well,
what's this scarf? What's all that about?
Well, they are my racing colours there, Tom. No, I run a syndicate, a partnership called White Diamond Racing. We formed in 2011. We currently have 2 horses, one called Phantom Ranch and one called Ostentation.
Recent purchase, wasn't it?
Yeah, Ostentation's been a recent purchase. He actually ran in the Supreme Novices Hurdle last year. He pulled up, but we're hoping this year we can get him back on the all-weather and get him over hurdles.
Let's talk about the nephew.
We'll start with the current favourite, 2-1, the nephew. He was originally bought for £55,000 by John Joe O'Neill. He won 5 days ago at Utoxstar for a mark of 91. He's been raised up to £7, so he's running off a mark of 98 now. I think the step up in trip will help him. He's clearly had his problems. I'm against him at this stage. I think there's better value in the race.
What's the odds on him?
He's 2-1 currently.
Roughly
2-1 current favourite.
I mean, does it worry you that McCoy didn't win on it last time? You got Richard McLaren.
I was just coming to that, and I think McCoy is at the meeting and Richie McLaren keeps the ride. Is that a negative? I'm not too sure. Obviously, McCoy's the champ for a reason.
Is McCoy taking a ride in that race? Or?
No, he's not. He's later on in the
it's interesting because he could. Catherine, are you there?
I think we've lost her.
We've lost Catherine. Mystic Academy, the bottom one, Jim Best, Tom Scudamore. Again, not being ridden by...
Well, it was bought... Well, it was previously with Joanne Foster. It was bought very cheaply for £1,800.
Does that worry you?
Yes. The one thing I would say...
Yeah, he's a good trainer.
It's been bought by Jim Best, who is very good with these type of horses.
Yeah, gets them trained up.
He does.
Bangs them in at the right time.
She did win a point in May as well, which is show that she can get ahead in front. 3-1, 130 at the moment is too short. I think the market will guide us here.
Okay. Well, tell us about some of the other horses in this race.
My personal fancy is Civil Unrest from the James Hewitt yard. James only got 1 runner at the meeting. He's coming 250 miles from Scotland, where he's based in Dumfries. He was originally off a mark of 115 over hurdles, and he beat a horse called William Money over the same trip at Musselburgh last year. He's plummeted down, and he's now off a mark of 93. He's got a very useful claim running called Dow Irvin. And if he gets to the lead, he jumps well, I can't see him being picked. I think you get away from the rest.
That £10 claim inside does help a lot, doesn't it?
Yes, massive.
I think he's got a really good strike rate. It's about 30% strike rate.
Think how prolific Aidan Coleman was when he had his claim. He's one of the jockeys that's actually managed to carry on from being good as an amateur. He managed to carry on as a professional when he lost his claim. A lot of the allowances, once they lose them, they struggle. You know, it's only the top jockeys that really can carry on after they lose their claim. So, claiming £10 off any horse's back is massive.
There is a sort of interesting one here called Sumner, trained by William Davis. Now, I look back on the start. It's a trainer that I wasn't too familiar with. And I see that he hasn't actually trained a horse overall for about 2 years. So it's quite interesting. But
I was about to say, he's been off the track for over 800 days.
Yeah,
I think he's easy to ignore at this stage. I think McCoy rode him to a winner last couple of years ago. I think Richard Johnson rode him when he won as well. Again, it's a negative that Charlie Post is on. McCoy's at the meeting. It could well just be to see how he comes back, I imagine.
From your point of view, the 150 at Worcester, what's your selection?
Civil Unrest.
Civil Unrest.
I think he's currently about 15-2. He's opened up.
Yeah.
And I will be backing him.
And pretty good value.
Yeah, pretty good value.
Okay, the next race we want to talk about is the 220 at Worcester. This is quite a small race, but quite an interesting one in as much that there's a couple of horses here that have run well over the hurdles and get their first sort of go over the jumps. There's 1 or 2 that made mistakes before. In relation to the top one, Donald McCain, Jason Maguire, what do you think about Abbey Storm?
Well, we started off in a National Hunt flat race in Ireland at Wexford, where he was beaten 4 lengths by Killy Glass, who was subsequently bought by Emma Laval. Unfortunately, Killy Glass was killed earlier on in the month. That horse actually won the champion bumper at Aintree. I know the Emma Laval yard was absolutely, obviously, very devastated when they lost this horse. They rated him very highly. Abbey Storm was bought for £90,000 by Donald McCain. That's a lot of money. He disappointed last time out.
In relation, going back to Abbey Storm, he did run a bit keenly last year. I mean, could he be a thorough stay? I mean, I'm worried about the distance.
I don't think we know yet. I think he's rated 120 over hurdles, and connectivity was rated 130 over hurdles. Okay. So sort of he's got £10 to find. I think Catherine's back.
Yeah. Hello, Catherine.
Catherine, we've got about 2 minutes left, Catherine. Thanks very much for joining us. Good night. No, but we're just on the 220 at Worcester. We've just had a brief discussion about Abbey Storm. I'll come to you on the number 2 on the card there, Connectivity, who I watched the rerun of this race earlier on. I think it run particularly well. Made a bit of a mistake 3 from home at Utah. What's your views on that one?
Obviously he's a Chepstow winner over 3 miles in April. It was third on his chase debut to Abbey Wood. He's the type of horse that Dr. Newland sort of excels with. He's a little bit like a horse that he used to have called Awesome George, and he actually bought him from Ireland as well. Same with Connectivity. He's got bits and pieces of useful form. I think Champion Jockey on it says it all. He's my fancy for the race.
He's blinkered first time, Catherine. Do you think that's important?
Oh yeah. I don't think it's going to disconvenience him anyway.
You don't think so? Okay.
No.
I mean, Dr. Richard Newton does tend to put the blinkers on. I mean, he's the highest rate of these, but there is another horse in here that obviously is a bit of an interest, is the Tim Vaughan trained Spanish Optimist. Richard Johnson, any views on that?
Yeah, that's very interesting. I read a comment from Tim Vaughan saying when he got beaten on his debut, he was wrong that day. So you can forget about that, and that was on good to firm ground. He subsequently he beat a horse called Duke of Monmouth, which is a Charlie Manyard horse, sorry. It was rated 115. He's a decent yardstick, and he beat him well. That was over 3 miles. Steps back in distance. They bought him to go jumping. So I'm interested in Spanish Optimists. I'm very interested in him. I think he could, if he jumps well, I can see him being involved.
Spanish Optimist.
Catherine?
Yep.
Yeah, same as Sandy really. Sort of had bits and pieces of form and Irish points as well. So I can't really get away from my main fancy Connectivity, to be honest.
One mention about What an Oscar. I mean, it seems he's been running quite a bit, and if I'm right in saying it's his first time over the chases. But I don't think it's going to make too much of an impact more. Nor my namesake, shall I say, Finch Flyer. I mean, are they total no-hopers?
I'll tell you, with Finch Flyer, I'll wear that hat for the next 5 years if he wins.
Okay.
So there you go there. With What an Oscar, he either wins or pulls up. Simple as that. So.
Right. So your view on this race is that you think McCoy will win this in a canter or in a photo?
One or the other.
Yeah.
Canter or photo, nothing in between.
You answer that, Catherine? You still there?
Yeah, still here.
So what do you think?
I think it is between Connectivity and Abbey Storm Connectivity to prevail, but I cannot actually predict whether it be a photo or canter.
Okay, well there you go. Shame you can't. We're going to touch on the next race in a second, but don't forget you can tweet us in. We are approaching sort of 8:45. If you have a selection that differs from our panel, tweet us at BetRacingNation. You'll be up for a £50 cash prize on Saturday, and we might have a couple more tweets there.
Well, there is one tweet in, and I don't know what
Only one?
Yeah, no, about Worcester. This is. I don't know what you boys make of it. Bit of a funny one. He reckons Tom Scudamore, he's saying, is doing 10 stone tomorrow. That's a tip in itself. Scudamore?
Yeah, we've already gone about the Jim Best horse. You know, we're not really sure at the moment. I think the market will guide us with that one.
Catherine, can I just ask you, obviously you missed that first race. I just want to, obviously the tweeter there mentioned about Scudamore. That is a very low weight, isn't it, for that particular race, that 150 at Worcester. And Jim Best, even though the horse was bought for £1,800, I mean, he gets the winners.
Yeah, he does, and I could actually hear you through that. You just couldn't hear me.
Right, okay.
And I agree with Sandy. It's the type of horse that Jim Best excels with. But I'm with the nephew. The nephew has been in my Nagme alert since November of last year when he went off favourite for an Ascot bumper. No surprise to see him win first time up in handicap company over fences last week. I know he's up £7, but I can't see past him, to be honest.
I agree with you. I mean, we are going back in time, but I agree with you totally, Catherine. Naffin is my... it's our nephew versus his civil unrest.
Yeah, I've say to the nephew, it was a very weak race at Utah State. To beat Shrinking Otto, he's been around the block more times than you know.
Yeah, but he's quite fairly unexposed. Let's move on to the 250, the happy wedding anniversary. Happy wedding anniversary for anyone that might be watching. The 250, let's talk about Sagredo. He's a course and distance winner, probably prefer a stronger gallop, but what are your views on it? Pretty moderate, Sandy?
I don't think he finds much off the bridle, and I'm willing to oppose him. He was actually an ex-flat horse with Sir Mark Prescott was bought for about 310,000 guineas, so he was very well thought of. I'm against him.
You're against him?
Yeah, I'm against him.
Catherine?
Yeah, complete agreement with Sandy. I don't think you can trust him. Same goes with Citrus Mark, really.
Yeah. But again, another caution distance winner. Beat
Yeah.
Benny's Request at Utoxeter. You don't think they're the strong candidates in this one? Who do you think is a strong candidate in this one, Catherine?
I think, to be honest, what I've actually got written on my notes here is it's a little bit of a rogues gallery. But if I was going to have a bet in it, then I'd side with Wings of Smoke. It's tongue-tied as normal. Just if you could sort of go back, I believe he won at Newbury, sort of beginning of last season. If you go back to that, that's quite a decent bit of form. I'd not really a race that I would get involved in myself, but if I had to, be with the Tim Vaughan horse.
But what do you think there?
Well, I think Royal's Charter needs to come down the handicap. I think he's 130 is too high for him. I think he's going to be hard for him to carry top weight. I like Takarok, ex-Paul Nicholls horse. Gone to a very capable trainer in Sophie Leach. I like that yard, and Takarok is potentially very well treated. It all depends if his desire's still there, though. You know, some of these older horses.
Is it first run for the trainer?
It is, yeah.
It's one of those horses where, you know, when they're clustered up in a big yard, they don't get a lot of attention.
Well,
it might be a difficult horse. They sweep it away to one of these smaller yards to, you know, try and get the best out.
Well, it's always interesting when Paul Maloney rides for Sophie Leach.
Yeah.
But you've got maybe one for the future.
Yeah, I have. There's a bumper that runner from the yard. They bought for 58,000. Run at Plumpton. It's called Antreos.
Put that in your notebooks.
Yeah.
Scribble away.
It beat a horse called Cannon Fodder from Sheena West.
Yeah.
Who has gone on to run quite well. She's a very small mare.
Say that name of that horse again.
And I'm hoping I'm pronouncing it right. It's
Relative.
Antreos. I think it's been targeted for a race at Exeter on the 10th of October.
Okay.
And I liked it. I liked the way it went about its victory in the bumper. So.
There's been some money, Catherine. I don't know why. Maybe because they've seen my ears on here, but for Spock.
Another ex Paul Nicholls.
Yeah, another ex Paul Nicholls. Is there any reason why anyone should be sort of looking at the prices for Spock?
Well, yeah. I mean, if you go back through the form, absolutely has won it back at Worcester in 2010. I just think this is a. I wouldn't be piling into this race with the wheelbarrow anyway.
No, it doesn't help the fact that it doesn't help that it's only the 7 runners either, because you can't even go for each way value. It's a sort of a very difficult rate. If I was to sort of push you into a corner, Catherine, can you give us a selection?
Yeah, Wings of Smoke.
I'll go with Takarok.
Takarok.
Yeah, I'll go with Takarok.
And obviously, just remind us of the first race, because obviously you wasn't here. You're going for the nephew, right?
I am, yeah, the nephew.
Okay, you'll be here on Saturday,
Yeah,
presenting a fabulous show from 10 o'clock on Saturday. Thank you very much, Sandy. It's been a pleasure as well
Pleasure,
having
Peter.
your company.